will shape and mold this country, or it will not be molded and shaped at all anymore. So I don't think you have a choice. How can you be an artist and not reflect the times? That to me is the definition of an artist.
Thank you and welcome to my channel, Simply Your World, where we discuss past and present events that will affect you if they haven't already. I got a serious question for y'all. How long can the human body survive without a brain? Tonight, that's what we're going to discuss. I guess me looking up other things like abortion and like just other topics kind of led me down this certain wormhole, so to speak, and led me to a few different videos that discuss just that. Children born without a brain and actually surviving and flourishing without a brain. Okay, I gotta say that again. I can't say that enough, and I really want you to think about that and what it entails. Okay, and make sure and actually you have to rethink life after seeing a video like this. We're gonna highlight 4 people: a little girl named Lily, a little boy named Jackson, Noah, and Parker. All of them with, like I said, one of these 2 different conditions, if not both. And I'm going to show you how the body obviously does not need a brain to survive. So with all that being said, let's get into it. And I will be coming back with my commentary as the video plays. So let's get into it.
Hi, my name is Sienna and I'm Lily's mum. Lily was born with a condition called hydranencephaly. Basically, she was born with just a brain stem and no brain. It means that her brain tissue was killed off and replaced by fluid. So all she has is brain stem and lots of fluid in her head where the brain should be. The doctors told us that she wouldn't survive past a month, definitely not her first birthday, but luckily for us she's just turned 6 and has proved them all wrong. It's changed our life as a family in every way, basically, from how you think about life, and it's just all about Lily, which is what it should be. They had told us when Lily was born that she was perfectly healthy and fine, and she just needed to start feeding, put on some weight, and then she would be discharged. She ended up being in NICU for over a month, and then on the day of discharge they realised that they hadn't done a brain scan, and that's obviously when they took her for the brain scan, and then they found out just how bad the damage was.
Hey, I don't know about y'all, but this really, really, really makes you rethink life and everything you've been taught about the body and your body and the way it functions. You know, from when I was coming up, the occipital lobe, which is in the back of the brain, controls the vision. The frontal controls I believe, the memory and speech. And you got the occipital, the parietal lobes, and you got all these different sutures and the synapse. The synapse controls the thought, and it takes the feelings, and it tells you all these different things the brain does. But how do you explain vision with no brain? How do you explain movement or life itself with no brain? This is exactly what I mean by truly having to rethink life itself when you see things like this. But without me speaking too long, let's get back into it.
Her twin died. When they said that Lily could only be with us for like a month, it was just awful. We thought we'd got over the worst losing Paige, but then to be told that your surviving twin isn't going to make it either was just horrific, basically. It seemed even more cruel at the time. It's been a great 6 years. We've just made sure that she's lived life as full as she can. We take her everywhere. She's included in everything. And just on the good days that she has, we just make the most of it. And try to be as positive as we can, and try and minimise the negative, because with this special needs life, sometimes it can all be about the negative, and you really have to focus on the little positive things. They keep you going.
Just that story alone really embodies the thought of life and rethinking life. Because imagine being born without a brain, for one. For two, the doctor telling your child will not live past a month, and they live 6 years or more. I didn't really, like I said, I didn't check to see was Lily still alive or not. And I guess I'll keep you posted on it, or you can check and see if she's still alive or not. But just living a day, living 1 minute with no brain is amazing. And 6 years is beyond amazing. That's phenomenal. That's God realm. You know what I mean? So this guy right here, this little boy over here, we're going to highlight as we move on. His name is Noah. His condition is a little bit different, but maybe more extraordinary. He was born with only 2% of his brain, and his brain grew as he grew. Now he has up to 80% of his brain. I want to say that again. His brain grew after he was born. Okay, so think about that, and let's get into the story.
When we heard this story yesterday, we were having a meeting to talk about what was going to be on today's programme. It was almost unbelievable, because as he was developing in your womb, it became quite clear that there were real problems, and that he only had about 2% of the brain, and indeed that's what he was born with, 2%.
Yes, it was, yes.
And what's the percentage now?
80%.
He's grown since birth. He's grown a brain.
Yeah.
This is incredible.
It's a very emotive subject. Some people say you can't grow a brain. Some people say his brain was there but all squashed up.
What a joy, though, is he's been making everybody smile this morning. So my goodness me, how
Mm-hmm.
lovely to have him with you. But that moment when you were told the situation when he was in your tummy, that must have been quite a moment as a mum, really, because you already had 2 older girls, didn't you?
Yeah, we got taken into a room, and they drew a circle and said, this brain there'll only be half of the brain. And that's what we got told until obviously he was born, and we got shown.
And along with that information, they gave you, I think, was it 5 times? They gave you the option of a termination.
They did, yeah.
They did.
Why were you so determined not to? Because a lot of people would have taken that option, given the scenario that they were sketching out worst case scenario, and it was not good. What made you have confidence? The wrong word, but what made you strong enough to just say no? I'm going through with this. After five times they offered you a termination.
Possibly because we were older parents. I think if younger people were offered that choice, they may have felt pressured into taking that choice. Because we're older parents, we know our own mind, and we're positive people.
Yes.
So we wanted to give Noah the chance of life.
And it's paid off, seemingly so
Yes.
far, because they said he wouldn't be able to talk, didn't they?
Yeah, they gave us a whole list, severely mentally and physically disabled, maybe not be able to hear, see, eat, do, anything at all.
That must have made for one heck of a tense pregnancy for you.
Yeah, it was the 11th of the 11th of the 11th at 11 o'clock. Never forget that day.
I bet.
And what about the day that he was born?
That was an amazing day, the day that you were born.
Yeah.
We waited with bated breath because they put a non-resuscitation order on Noah.
And there was 12 people in the operating theatre, and we had to go in a week before we were due for a caesarean because Noah's head was growing dangerously large with the hydrocephalus, and he was born and let out an amazing scream, so we knew everything.
You knew there was some power there,
there
didn't
was
you?
some power there,
Way. And you're not stopping, are you? You want to go further. You'd love to be able to try and walk now. Is that right?
He is full of life. I don't have too much commentary outside of this is amazing. And you have to rethink life as you know it. Okay? Just to, what do I say? I'm really never really lost for words, but you have to rethink life and what we've been told our entire lives about our bodies, about this world, about things, about existence, period, when you see things like this. So, let's keep going. This clip is about a little boy named Jackson, and his story is maybe more extraordinary than the first two. He was born with, like, I would say, I think they said 6% of his brain. He has no cranium. You know, his head is pretty much flat at the top. So, without me speaking too much, we're going to get into it, and I'm going to come back on my commentary.
We begin with a poignant story tonight of love and sacrifice in the face of overwhelming odds. A young couple learns their child will be born with a debilitating medical condition, and they bring him into the world anyway. Now these parents have a medical marvel on their hands. Here's ABC's David Wright.
For Brandon and Brittany Buell, the first serious curveball of parenthood came the day after their 17-week ultrasound.
These are his legs. His hands and feet are in the air like this.
Okay. The scan where the couple first found out they were having a baby boy.
The ultrasound tech was acting strange. She got really quiet. And when she got to his head and was measuring it, she didn't say a word.
Then, the very next day, the phone rang with sobering news.
They told me he had spina bifida.
Wow. And how did you process that?
I don't really know. I didn't really process it at the time. I couldn't really believe it.
Turns out that initial diagnosis was wrong, but the scan showed a severe brain abnormality. Their son's head was not forming properly, the brain almost non-existent. Miraculously, Jackson survived. He's now just over a year old. The doctors didn't expect him to. In fact, it was the sort of pregnancy where doctors, as gently as possible, mention the word termination. Abortion is much too charged a word.
It wasn't until 23 weeks pregnant that it was brought up.
About the options.
That we had the option to terminate in the state of Florida until 24 weeks.
To put it bluntly, many American families faced with that 17-week scan would not have brought this baby into the world.
How many fingers do I see?
Jackson's parents gave him a chance.
Where do they come from? I can't say, but I bet they have come a long, long way.
But in a way, this is the essence of that debate, isn't it?
It can be if anybody wants to
Sort
turn
of.
it
Some
into
people
it.
take it that way, but
we never.
We don't try to take it that way.
No.
Hi, handsome.
They did think about termination.
I would feel terrible doing something like that. But if they were to tell me he was going to suffer, or he would be in pain, or my life was in jeopardy, then my thought process might have been different.
We're Christian, and we believe in what we believe in. But we still are going to do the best thing for our family, for Brittany, and ultimately for Jackson.
And this is Jackson today, severely disabled, but thriving.
For us, this just seems normal. We don't have another child. This is the first one.
Even just bathing him is a task that requires both parents.
You want to play with your toys? Was that a yes or was that a no?
You know, how do you deny a cry like that? How do you deny a baby's sound? You know, no matter what they say the issue is, God is definitely in control, whether you believe in God or not. I mean, no matter what the doctors tell you, no matter what they, say their scan shows, if your baby is moving, I would say deliver your child, because you never know who you're raising and you never know what God's plan is, because at the end of the day, we are not in control. So, anyway, let's keep going. This part of the video is about a little boy named Parker, who was born with a severe condition of hydrocephalus. We're going to get into it, and we're going to come back with my commentary.
I was by his side the whole time, talking to him, praying over him, holding his hand, rubbing his head. That unconditional love just rushes over you, and here's this helpless baby that has been entrusted to me, and I can't do anything for him.
Parker Kralecki was born with hydrocephalus, a condition in which spinal fluid fills the cranial cavity, crowding out the baby's brain. In a normal birth, the brain occupies 90 to 95% of the cranial cavity. Parker's tiny brain occupied less than 5% of the volume of his skull.
There was only a rim, a tiny few millimeter rim of brain cells around the circumference.
How do you have only a small rim of brain cells in your head, but we were taught differently? I can't get off of these same points. It's just, that's the only thing I can think about. We were taught one way, amongst other things, and you obviously see that had to be incorrect in more than one way, on more than one level. Something else is fueling our consciousness. Something else is getting in touch with the universe outside of the brain inside our head. It has a different function than what we were taught, obviously.
It was astounding.
At the time of birth, what you have is basically the building blocks or the precursor for the rapid development that is going to occur in the next 2 years, especially, of life.
They were ready and waiting for him, and Dr. Reisner took him to the operating room within a few days to relieve that pressure and to drain the fluid.
Over the next few months, Parker had a series of surgeries to drain more fluid and to reshape his skull.
Our goal was to go in and re-expand the skull, open the skull up and separate those bones that had grown together, and that was basically what we did, getting the space for his brain to grow and to grow normally.
Hey, shout out to the surgeons.
Children's has always been for me is like an extension of me. Every time that we've had to hand Parker off to a nurse who would take him to a surgery, or while he was in the NICU or the PICU, I knew that every person there cared for him almost as much as I did.
We took him home at 2 weeks old and we started physical therapy at 4 weeks. It took him a long time to sit up and hold his head up. He never crawled. He went to pulling up and then walking. It was about 15 months when he got the glasses.
He is truly a very brave child. He has been through so much. He has always had a smile on his face.
Parker is a little chatterbox. He constantly wants to see people. He's such a loving child. He will always just give us kisses and hugs and smiles all the time. He's got a laugh that will just melt your heart. He's a miracle.
Parker has not only met all our hopes, but in so many ways exceeded them by far.
We are humble partners of parents. They loved everything they'd been given, and they totally accepted, without question, this very special child. If there is love and conscience and the heart is in the right place, great things can happen.
You know, this is amazing to me. Full of life, can see, can talk, can walk, you know, can hear, can move his fingers, you know, can reason without the very thing they say controls all that. What am I left to think? What am I left to feel? What are you left to feel? How do you feel? Did you know this? You know, because I surely didn't until just maybe a week and a half ago. You know. So all I can say is thanks for watching. I know it's one of my shorter videos. I could give way more commentary, but why? What is the point? What can I say? You know, because 9 times out of 10, you're thinking on the same level as me, if not deeper. So again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.